All right, so we're back. We are still in the West Coast studios. It's the Hatening, it's Hoop. I don't have a title for this one, or not a title, like a cool little skit or a fun thing to do in the beginning. But yeah, I want to talk about like moments of clarity, you know, and like by that, obviously, I mean like, you know, when you kind of like come to a realization, like a significant realization, like I don't know, in regards to like whatever the fuck's going on in your life. And like I've only really like kind of experienced this type of shit like when it comes to like me like getting fucked up all the time. And that's kind of like a not a stereotype or like a trope or of like the addict or whatever, but like I feel like most people who have ever like had some sort of like moment of clarity, like aside from like post-nut clarity, which like I'll get to later, you know, like I feel like it normally comes like with like kind of like bad stuff, not bad stuff, but you know what I mean? Like the stuff you're doing in your life that like you might not be like too proud of or like, you know, just not too like into, but it's just like what it is, right? Mainly just like when it comes to like substance abuse and stuff. So like, you know, like alcoholics have a moment of clarity, like I've had like a few with my drug stuff. Normally it comes like after a significant life event, you know, like, but those are more like a wake up call, right? Like that's like not really like that like weird spark of like, oh shit, like this is what's going on that I think would actually define like a moment of clarity, I suppose. Because a lot of times I would get it like very randomly, right? It would just be like a normal ass like Monday night and I'd just be like doing whatever, you know, whatever I'm doing at the time, whether it's just like going to the bar every day after work or like, you know, doing certain drugs or just like doing whatever, you know what I mean? Just kind of like going through my routine, but I'm like kind of like, in my instances, it was always like living in addiction, but I could understand how it could maybe like, you know, be when you're engaged in like other activities as well, or just like stuff that maybe you're like not happy with in general, right? So maybe it might be like a job that you don't like or a relationship that like you're not too into but haven't really done anything about, right? I suppose you could have a moment of clarity there where you're just like, oh wait, I don't want to do this anymore and I'm not going to do that, right? Would that be a moment of clarity when you realize that like you're in just like such a bad situation that you need to do something about it? Because if that's the case, like then I guess I've had more than I originally thought coming into this episode. Because I definitely have had moments at like jobs, mainly at jobs, but once or twice like with people like relationship wise, where it's just like, oh, hold on a second, like I'm kind of like thinking about this in a different way really quickly and this is fucked. So like I'm gonna change this real quick. You know what I mean? Yeah, like so if that's a moment of clarity, then like that, you know, we've all had that a lot, right? You get not like pushed to the point, but you're just kind of like coasting or you're comfortable or you're kind of just like living with the fact that something that's happening isn't like your ideal, you know, whatever. And then like you just kind of like have a moment where you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to like do this anymore. I'm going to change things up. Like, sure, that's a moment of clarity. We have all had those. But like, I don't know, when I first wrote this episode down, like to go a little bit behind the curtain, like I don't look at what I'm going to be talking about like really that far ahead of like when I do an episode. I kind of just like have a notes thing on my phone where I just like throw in topic throughout the day, and then whenever I sit down to record, I just kind of like scroll around and like pick one, and I don't really like plan a bunch of the stuff ahead of time. So when I saw like that I had written down like moments of clarity and stuff, like the first thing I thought about, like I think when I wrote it down also was just talking about like addiction stuff, you know, and I can get anecdotal and like personal about it a little bit, but like obviously like I've said, I have like drug stuff going on and have for a long time, and I definitely like remember the first time that I like really tried to like quit doing drugs, like quit doing like opiates and stuff, like downers and pills and everything, you know what I mean? When I decided to like get clean, like the first time, nothing interesting really happened like around it, you know, and like there have been like really fucked up things happen that like led to that point where I was still like teetering back and forth between like I don't want to be doing this anymore, but also I don't really want to put in the hard work to change what's going on, right? And that was like the struggle that like I was in. That was like, you know, just like the shitty situation that I found myself in, as I'm sure that anyone else who's had to deal with like addiction, like you find yourself in that point where you're like, I don't really want to live like this anymore, but like I don't really have like the like I just don't have it in me to fucking change anything right now. You know, and that's like how I was living for a while. But then like when I decided like, fuck it, like tomorrow I'm going to get clean. Like if I'm being honest, like it kind of just like happened. Like it really was kind of like a moment of clarity thing where I was like, nothing interesting was going on. And then it just kind of like came in my head and I was like, oh shit. Like I need to just like stop. Like this is fucking ridiculous. Like I need to get my shit together. And like, I'm tired of just kind of like disappointing myself by never doing it. So like, I'm just going to do it right now. So I like had like this like kind of like flash, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh wait, things should change. And then for some reason, like I, you know, took my own advice or did whatever the fuck. And then, you know, started that whole process. But like the moment of clarity thing, like it's fucking crazy. And like, it does happen. Like, I think it happens to like most people, you know, you don't have to just be an addict to like experience this kind of shit. But like, it's crazy when it happens. Cause it just like, it comes out of nowhere. It kind of just like kicks you right in the fucking head. Right. You know, at least like that's how like, I don't know how I perceived it, but another form of like clarity that's like kind of related and also something I had written down was like the idea of like post-nut clarity. And by that, you know, it's like when you get done having sex or masturbating or whatever, basically like when you finish and then you're sort of like, oh shit, what did I just do? Right. Or like, you know, that's a thing, like whether people want to really admit it or not. Like, I think we've all been there. We've all like kind of just been like blinded by how horny we were. And then like, you know, afterwards you're like, oh man, that was fucking weird, huh? That was crazy, huh? You know? And like, I don't really have much more to really say about that, but like, that's like another form of clarity that you just kind of like get, although it's like very situational, I suppose. But like, I don't know. That's happened to me. You know, I'm sure that's happened to all of you too, whether you really want to admit it or not. Like sometimes you just get like overcome with how badly you want to have sex or how badly you want to, you know, get a nut off. And then you kind of just like do whatever and kind of like think differently than you normally would. And then as soon as like you, you know, you get that shit, then you just kind of like come back and you're like, oh fuck, like, woo, that was crazy. Like I probably should have, you know, thought that through a little better, but I was overcome, you know. But that shit, I don't know. Like moments of clarity in general, like I feel like they're really important for like breaking through or like, you know, breaking bad habits. And also just like sometimes like the only way you're going to really like make a big change or like really like realize what's going on around you, you know, if it's something where you've kind of been like lost in the sauce, is going to be like this big, huge like moment. And sometimes they just kind of like randomly happen. Like, you know, like I guess a majority of the catalyst will be like large events that are like very meaningful to you and stuff, you know, like you get shook to your core or whatever, and then you have to make a change. But like sometimes like it's not like that. And it's more like not prophetic, but you know what I mean? It just kind of like zaps into your fucking consciousness where it's like, hey, here's what's up. You can see things clearly now because for whatever reason you haven't been, you know, and here's what should be going on, or like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you like it, please give us a good rating. Like that's really the best thing you can do is give us like a positive review wherever you listen to podcasts. Aside from that, tell your friends. That'd be fucking cool. People have been, and we've been getting more listeners, and that's pretty awesome. If you like The Hatening, you can find us on all social media platforms. From there, you can find the individual individual accounts for myself and super producer Andrew. Take care of yourself and the people around you, and don't forget to tell your friends you love them.